Every once in a while, the truth somehow slips out. Not because someone planned to, not because somebody wanted it to, but because reality doesn't always cooperate with the script. In a day, CNN accidentally told the truth, not an opinion, not a hot take, actual data. And once that happened, everything else you're about to see started unraveling fast.
About what the president's done in Venezuela?
Let me be very clear. There is no rift in the Republican Party. Yes, there are some folks like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massie who are quite skeptical of this. They are very much in the minority. What are we talking about here? Well, why don't we just talk the GOP on the U.S. military ousting Maduro? Ipsos, 65% support, 6% opposed. How about the Washington Post poll? 74% support, just 10% opposed. If you look among 2024 Trump supporters, we're talking about 80% support. The vast majority of Republicans are with Donald Trump on this issue. Massie and Marjorie Taylor Greene are very much in the minority. Very few Republicans are with him.
You say they're with him on this issue. Do you even need those words, this issue?
No, I don't need the words this issue, because the bottom line is this. Donald Trump has had an iron grip on that Republican base for a long period of time, and it is the same iron grip that he had 6 months ago. I know every so often people are trying to say, oh, I spot these little rifts in the Republican base. They're finally starting to break. They're starting to break from Donald Trump. It ain't happening, at least when it comes to the approval rating. Look at this. 84% 6 months ago, 85% now. You don't have to be a mathematical genius to know 85% and 84% are basically the same number. In fact, 85% is 1 point higher than 84%.
Show me.
CNN admits Trump has 85% GOP approval. Notice how calm that was. No drama, no spin, just the numbers. 85% approval inside the Republican Party. No rift, no collapse, no civil war. And here's the important part. This wasn't said proudly. Obviously the network wasn't proud. My guy over there, whoop, 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 excited. But you know what I mean when I say that. It had to slip out, because when data stops cooperating, the narrative has a problem. And CNN, they couldn't try to put this in a box. And watch what happens immediately after, when facts don't work and emotions take over.
I do want to just say this. Everyone wants to talk about how Maduro was illegitimate. As we sit here on January 6th, I do want to be clear. Somebody else was trying to be a Maduro of the United States. Yep. Somebody else wanted to do the exact same thing. Yep. The difference is Maduro was successful. Mm-hmm. I also want to point out that we now, in the state of Texas and around this country, are enduring this ridiculous redistricting scheme. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Again, because he doesn't really believe in free and fair elections. Mm-hmm. So again, this idea that he is doing this for a great reason, he made it clear, because it's my understanding that when he went into that press conference, he said at least 20 times, oil, 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 oil.
He sure did.
Listen to him when he speaks. He's telegraphing. And so Jack Smith, I hate that he did not get his day in court. I hate that for the American people.
Okay.
I do want to...
That escalated quickly. We went from polling data to dictator comparisons. That's not analysis, ladies and gentlemen. That's panic. And when panic sets in, logic usually follows right out the door. She didn't stop there, because the narrative cracked. They, when it does crack for them, they just try to double down.
This ain't about Venezuelans. I get that there are people that don't like the leader, but guess what? There are a lot of people that don't like our leader. And regardless, somebody coming into the United States and grabbing our leader in the middle of the night and killing people in this country, I'm sure everybody would be outraged at them doing it that way.
Yes.
This ain't about Venezuela.
But they had no casualties. No American casualty. I want y'all to let what she said sink in. Trump is framed as authoritarian, but an actual authoritarian suddenly deserves sympathy. Make it make sense. I'm just saying, you don't need a political science degree to feel the tension here. Something's not lining up, right? And this is the moment where a neutral voice unexpectedly walks into the room. And when that happens, the noise quiets.
My position is one of questions, and I get myself in trouble asking questions, but I'm never going to stop because my nature as a journalist is to ask questions. When I think about the United States and I think about our government in the nation's capital, I need somebody to make it make sense for me. Didn't Trump originally put a $15 million bounty on Nicolas Maduro's head in his first term in office? The answer to that would be yes. Didn't President Joe Biden in 2025, before leaving office, put a $25 million bounty on Nicolas Maduro's head? The answer to that would be yes. Didn't President Trump come back after putting the $15 million bounty on Maduro's head, after witnessing Joe Biden put a $25 million bounty on Maduro's head, up the ante by increasing that bounty to $50 million? The answer to that would be yes. So if we as a government crossing party lines, mingling with other administrations in terms of mirroring their agenda as it pertains to this specific individual, if that is what happened, what's the problem?
Exactly. And that's not conservative media. That's not MAGA radio. That's someone walking through basic facts. My guy might as well come out as a conservative. He's not doing a good job. Anyhow, Trump put a bounty on Maduro. Biden increased it. Trump acted on it. This is information I found out today. The same target, same conclusion, different, completely different reactions here. And that's usually how you know the argument isn't really about what happened, but who did it. Because while they're, out here talking, still arguing, things were already moving. Policies don't wait for panel discussions.
Moments ago, President Trump on Truth Social posting this to wrap up our last conversation. I'm pleased to announce that the interim authorities in Venezuela will be turning over between 30 and 50 million barrels of high quality sanctioned oil to the United States of America. This oil will be sold at its market price, and that money will be controlled by me as President of the United States of America to ensure it is used to the benefit of the people of Venezuela and the United States. I have asked Energy Secretary Chris Wright to execute this plan immediately. It will be taken by storage ships and brought directly to unloading docks in the United States. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Moments ago, President Trump on Truth Social.
Oh, wow. Ooh, this is where contrast gets sharp. Wow, some people with debating tone, other out here executing outcomes. Energy leverage, results, no speeches about intention, no applause lines, just action. And that's when an argument collapses inside the building, because eventually someone asks the obvious question.
It's about oil and dollars. And I'm tired of the president of the United States. He chooses Caracas over rural health hospitals. Right? He chooses Venezuelans over soybean farmers.
So,
he chooses everybody else over Americans.
Do you oppose the Biden administration putting a bounty on Maduro's head as well?
No, Maduro's a horrible person. He needs to be shackled.
But what is
so Trump just acted on it.
Exactly. What do you mean that you approve of Biden putting the bounty on his head, but not of Trump actually going out and arresting the guy?
There are about oil and dollars, and I'm tired of the president of the United States.
Yeah, y'all heard that. He supports Biden putting a bounty on Maduro, but condemns Trump for enforcing the same policy, same goal, different standard. It's a shame. And once that contradiction is exposed, there's only one move left, and that's change the subject or the math.
The U.S. is alleging that Maduro, again, is a drug trafficker, among other charges, something that will ultimately be decided by jurors. Here's what we know about the illicit drug trade out of Venezuela. The first drug trafficking accusations came against Nicolas Maduro back in 2020 during the first Trump administration. And at the time, the former Attorney General, Bill Barr, said the Venezuelan government facilitated the transport of up to 250 tons of cocaine annually. Experts believe that most of that cocaine, though, is bound for Europe, not the United States. And also, for context, that total falls far, far short of what we see in many other countries. For instance, according to U.S. data, Guatemala, a much smaller nation, saw 1,400 plus metric tons pass through 2018 alone, which we know did wind up flowing into the United States. Cocaine is obviously dangerous and lethal. It is not, though, the drug causing most overdose deaths in the United States. That dubious distinction belongs, of course, to fentanyl. In 2024, the CDC says that drug killed more than 48,000 people here in the United States, more than half the total number of overdose deaths nationwide that year. Cocaine accounted for just about 22,000 deaths. And despite claims by the Trump administration that Maduro's capture will impede the flow of fentanyl, the DA's own assessment for 2025 doesn't even list Venezuela as a foreign illicit drug actor. Instead, it cites trafficking from Mexico, China, Colombia, and India as well. Fentanyl is almost entirely produced in Mexico using chemicals that come from China, according to U.S. authorities. How all this shakes out in the courtroom, we'll see what evidence the U.S. presents.
So CNN minimizes cocaine deaths while contextualizing Maduro. This is the tale. When you find yourself minimizing death counts to protect the narrative, you're no longer reporting, you're managing perception. And that's the real story here, y'all. What you just watched wasn't a victory lap. It was a pattern. Truth comes out, panic follows, contradictions seemingly pile up, and reality just keeps moving forward anyway. Because I'm just saying, we aren't winning because we're louder out here, over here on the right side, but we're winning because reality eventually, has deadlines. And we know that because the left, you can argue with people, you can argue with voters, but you can't argue with data forever. That's all we're saying. And at some point, the numbers show up, the policies execute, and the narrative has to explain itself. And when it can't, it tells on itself. That's what today was. Not a speech, not a rally, just an accidental moment of honesty. So if you made it to the end, I want you to comment, reality always wins. That's how I know you're really here. Same thing. Y'all be safe. Go check on a friend today. You can quite literally be saving their life. Peace.